welcome back to another round of basis picks. Now this one's a little bit later than usual because it's a USA card. I normally wait for the weigh-ins and stuff to take place. Obviously those took place around about 6 o'clock our time. They didn't get on the scales until like 6:30, coming up towards 7. I'm not gonna lie, fell asleep after that, ate some food, so now we're doing this. Now there is actually an ESPN card on tonight that I probably should have paid more attention to. I know Emmanuel Navarrete is fighting, so unfortunately that's not going to be a part of this. So sorry for anyone who was interested in that. Sometimes when there's the Friday night stuff, it kind of messes up the rhythm of the, you know, of the actual predictions and the show itself. Now I was gonna I could have potentially done this yesterday because I wasn't expecting to be around Friday night, but you know, plans change, things change, so we're here. So yeah, without further ado, gonna get into the predictions. What I will say is I'm not going to do every fight on the card, but there are a couple of fights that I am quite interested in seeing how they develop. So the Aaron Aponte against Joshua David Rivera fight, I am actually interested in seeing how that one goes. Harley Medeiros versus Julio Madera also, to me, could be a very, very tasty fight on the before the bell portion. Outside of that, you've got Yanquiel Rivera Figueroa, who is the new signing by Matchroom. I think he's 2-0, 2020 Puerto Rican Olympian, and 2-0, 2 knockouts flyweight. So I'm keen to see how he does, purely for the fact that, you know, that flyweight division is quite tasty, and the fact he's 2-0 going in against someone that's 11-2-1 means that they've got some confidence, because that's a pretty big jump. But yeah, those are sort of like the main ones I'm interested in. To be fair, you know, the whole undercard looks, for me, like for what I kind of like to see, looks decent. But yeah, the other 5 fights are what I'll talk about. I'm going to talk about them real briefly in a moment. So yeah, please like and subscribe and put your predictions down below for all of the fights, and let's see how many I get right. Let's see how many you get right. Let's see if we all get them right together. So without further ado, let me jump into it. Alright, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the undercard. However, the first fight I'm going to talk about really briefly is Ramla Ali versus Avril Mathie. Now this fight I can definitely see being a bit of a standoff fight to begin with. Both women are pretty lengthy in height. I think they're both sort of like 5'8"-ish, sort of 5'7", 5'8". I think Ramla's got the slightly longer reach, but Avril Mathie is coming up from 118 pounds to 122. Now, since Ramla Ali has been training with Manny Robles, she's sitting down on her shots a lot more. She is getting stoppages, whereas before she was just going the distance with the amateur style. Avril Mathie is a sort of a burst fighter. She will definitely try and throw sort of punches in sequence, in combination. She will try to get in on the inside and make use of her slightly shorter reach than what Ramla Ali has. But overall, I see that Ramla is going to be able to use her quick feet to kind of control distance. She is at the younger of the two, even though they do actually look quite similar in age, which is a testament to Avril Mathie, to be fair. Like again, because Avril is coming up in weight, Ramla's going to have the natural size advantage, and there's not too much of a speed discrepancy between the two of them. So I do ultimately see Ramla winning this one. I don't see it being a stoppage. I do see it getting the distance, but I can see it being a pretty fun fight. So yeah, first fight, Ramla Ali is the pick for me over Avril Mathie on points. Now, second one to talk about really quickly is Skye Nicolson versus Tania Alvarez. Now, admittedly, I didn't actually know who Tania Alvarez was prior to hearing about this fight, I think about four weeks ago. So I've had a look, I've done my research. She is a pressure fighter. She's obviously a very young, she's 21 years old, so she's not even fully into her, you know, her woman's body yet, but she is very much a pressure fighter. Come forward, lots of energy, will throw pretty much for every second of every round potentially, but she's very crude. Whereas you have Skye Nicolson, who is a textbook pure boxer. She's going to be the ranger. She's definitely got the longer sort of the longer reach. She is actually, I think she's slightly shorter than Tania Alvarez, which will be interesting because she's always been the sort of the taller and the longer of her opponents. On this occasion, she may not have all of those same assets to her advantage. Now, stylistically, Tania has a advantage over Skye Nicolson, because a pure boxer hates having to fight a pressure fighter who's constantly closing space, making them have to work when they don't want to. Skye doesn't have great power, but she is able to normally wind up on shots when she's facing other opponents. However, with the fact that Tania, I think, has got a very similar height to her and the reach isn't that different, she may actually get caught in between shots quite often. Now, because Tania is very crude in her ability to sort of, you know, pressure, it's not subtle pressure, it is sort of very come forward aggressive. She may end up throwing herself off balance from time to time, and I can see Skye pretty much offsetting a lot of that pressure with smart and quicker footwork. But that being said, I do think she will get pushed in this fight, but her being the hometown fighter, especially in terms of, you know, who the promotion's backing, and the fact that I reckon that she'll get enough clean work off outside of the clinches to be able to rack up the rounds, I can see this being another points victory. I do hope it's not a boring points victory like she has had in some of her more recent fights, because I've said this is probably the last time I'm giving her a chance. She was transitioning from the amateur style to the pro style, so if I'm not entertained at the end of this fight, there definitely will be no more Skye Nicolson fight watching for me. I will be skipping those, because yeah, it's very boring and very negative. There's good boxing IQ, but when you are way overmatched to your opponent, like being as boring and as labored as she can be is not really for me. So yeah, I do predict though Skye will get this one on points. I don't think she's going to stop Tania. This will be great experience for Tania, who I think can go from strength to strength based on what I've seen. As I said, very crude, but she does apply pressure well and she will throw incessantly. I can see Skye getting caught probably more than she's been caught previously, but yeah, I do see her riding this one out to a points victory, hopefully in an entertaining fight. Now, my guilty pleasure fight of the night is going to be Shadasia Green versus Elin Cederroos. Now, most people won't know who Shadasia Green is. I only heard about her towards the first half of 2022. I'd previously kind of, the name had sort of popped out, and you kind of hear her name, but then I obviously I'd done my little research and I saw Shadasia Green. I saw a couple of her fights. I saw the talent. She's a ferocious woman. She's very talented. Imagine the best way to describe her. Okay, so imagine Clarissa Shields with power. And I know that might sound a bit disrespectful to Clarissa. It's not like Shadasia hasn't fought the level of competition that Clarissa has, so I'm not trying to say that, you know, she's anywhere near as good as Clarissa at this point in time, but at 168 she is definitely a tidy fighter. She's got hands, she's got great footwork, and her angles and her level changing is very, very nice. She's a very skilled boxer. She reminds me a little bit actually of Tiara Brown. If you've not seen Tiara Brown box, they've got very, very similar movements, but Shadasia Green's just a little bit more spiteful. So Elin Cederroos, she's very athletic, very tough. We saw what she'd done in the fight with Franchon Cruz last year. To me, that was an excellent fight. You know, she gave Franchon pretty much all she could handle, but Franchon was just a bit too skilled and experienced and just had a lot more lateral movement and upper body movement, and she could not miss with the overhand right all night. Now, Shadasia Green doesn't throw the overhand right as wild as Franchon does, but I can definitely see her slipping a jab or sort of like a left hook from Cederroos and coming over the top with that right, and instead of hitting the sort of the side of the head, you know, hitting that jaw. And I can potentially see Elin Cederroos getting stopped in this one. Looking at her on the scale, she looks in pretty good condition, and as I said, she's very tough. She took a huge beating from Franchon Cruz, but Franchon doesn't hit like Shadasia Green does, and I think Shadasia will be a lot more spiteful and is going to go for it a lot earlier. So realistically, I'm gonna be conservative, but I do actually think around about round 9, round 10, this fight could end up getting waved off. I do see Shadasia Green winning. She's with MVP, most valuable promotions. Sort of, I guess she's probably got the Amanda Serrano seal of approval. She's good, and I think in this step up fight, she's going to prove just how good she is. So yeah, she's definitely one to watch. I know the 168 division isn't that deep, but she's definitely one of the, you know, one of those in this division for you to be looking out for. So yeah, that's kind of probably be my guilty pleasure fight of the night. Moving on to the well, I think it's the third fight, or I guess it would be the chief support to the two co-main events, which is Richardson Hitchins versus John Bauza. Now, admittedly, I've not actually seen a huge amount of John Bauza, but from what I have seen, I'm not hugely impressed. 17-0, 7 KOs. KOs aren't everything. He's, you know, pretty much every fight he's won fairly comfortably, but there's not been any particular opponent I've looked at and said, all right, this person does this well, that well, that well. Everyone just kind of, they've all been meaty, and part of that just might be, you know, not having a necessary promoter or a good enough promotion behind you to be able to get you someone that's better. Richardson Hitchins, I feel, is a lot more talented. He's a natural Olympian. He went to the 2020 Olympics. No, sorry, he went to the 2016 Olympics. I think he was considering staying on for the 2020 ones, but decided to come pro instead. But his issue is that he's been pretty inactive over the last 4 years, and that's through no fault of his own. It's sort of like a Mayweather Promotions, PBC, you know, Showtime thing. They just didn't have the dates, didn't have the opponents. So now joining Matchroom, he already had one fight, I believe it was in November last year, and he's already into his next one in February. So he's getting back to the activity he had towards the start of his career, which should stand him in good stead. I do think that skill-wise, he is a lot better than what I've seen from Bauza. Again, his hasn't got the greatest of power, but a lot of his power has actually been improving and increasing on the back end of his sort of his run. A lot more of his stoppages have happened towards the last half of his 15 fights as opposed to the first. So with that, I can actually see a situation here where the two of them get caught in an exchange at some point, probably round 5, 6, 7, where he's able to land first between him and Bauza. And I can see, again, I've got a sort of a strong feeling that this will be a stoppage win for Richardson Hitchins. Whether it's a stoppage or not, he's definitely the person I'm picking to win, but I am picking sort of the rounds 7, between sort of round 7 to 8. That's my sort of prediction. But you know, if it goes to the points, I definitely think he'll get it fairly comfortably on points. Right, now to the main and the two main events, we'll call it, but let's call it the co-mains. So Alycia Baumgardner versus Elhem Mekhaled. Now, this is probably one of the few situations you will find a fighter, a competitor coming off of a loss getting to challenge for an undisputed championship. But with Elhem, I mean, to be fair, her fight with Delphine Persoon was very razor close. It could have gone either way. This probably would have been Delphine Persoon's opportunity had it not been for the no contest that she had I think it was in October or November last year, where she ended up punching her competitor when they had already reached the ground. They was on the floor and she hit them on the ground, which she's lucky, to be honest, she wasn't disqualified, but it ended up being a no contest. So that probably prevented her from actually being offered this fight, because that definitely would have been the fight more people would have said, yeah, this is worthy of the Undisputed, because they didn't know Elhem. Elhem is a classic sort of boxer puncher in her style. She is pretty aggressive, but she does have equal measures front and back foot game. Alycia is more of a pure boxer, although she does have remnants of a boxer puncher to her as well. The difference is she won't step on she won't step on the gas. She will control distance, she will control angles, and she will control the flow and the tempo of a fight, and then she will look for that sort of that one solid shot to land before exploding and trying to get into a sort of an exchange or a tear up. That being said, she's very economic with her work, so if Elin Mekhaled can actually pressure her, not so much like a pressure fighter, but if she can actually make Alycia have to throw, then there could be a case of we can see what the gas tank is like, because we don't ever really see her overexerted, because she's very good at controlling pace. Now stylistically, a pure boxer has an advantage over a boxer puncher, and in this instance the pure boxer is actually the one with the much harder punch. So Elhem cannot risk herself entering the pocket dangerously and getting shut down, you know, with either a one hitter quitter or something that actually, you know, takes her legs and causes her all sorts of distress for, you know, whether it's the end of that round and she's got a little time to recover. But I do actually see this particular fight is going to be very competitive. There is going to be spots where both women are on top, or, you know, sort of having major success. Again, if you saw Elhem's fight with Delphine Pursoon, Delphine, who is a classic pressure fighter who normally has a stylistic disadvantage to a boxer puncher, but Elhem took her shots. Not only did she take her shots, she gave out her own. Don't let the sort of the 3 KOs on the record fool you to believe that she doesn't have any power at all. She does, but it's just not on Alycia's level, in my opinion. And ultimately, I see Alycia being able to control enough of this fight, similar to the Mekhaled Mayer fight, but I think even in a bit more of a dominant fashion, just because stylistically she will have the natural advantage in this fight. Yeah, I can see Alycia winning a unanimous decision points victory. I can see it going points. I don't think she KOs Elhem. I think Elhem's too strong for that, but yeah, I can see it being sort of unanimous, like a 97, 93, 98, 92 type fight. There's going to be two or three rounds where Elhem has a lot of success, and definitely cleans up those particular rounds, in my opinion. But yeah, outside of that, I see Alycia comfortably getting the points decision, even though the fight may not actually look that comfortable, if that makes sense to you. Now we go to the main event. Okay, so here is probably one of the most, in terms of the, you know, betting odds, like one-sided undisputed fights, probably since Inoue and Butler. But believe you me, this fight is not as uncompetitive as some people believe. Like Erika Cruz, or Erika Cruz Hernandez, if we're going to give her a full title, she's 15-1 with 3 KOs, but she's a lot better than her limited record would suggest. Now, when I say better, I don't mean in terms of boxing skill. As you probably would have heard in one of my previous videos, when it comes to her, she is literally, I will out throw you, I will just outwork you, and if you can't match my pace, I'm going to rack up the rounds while you're playing catch up. She is from Mexico City, so if you know anything about Mexico City, it's high altitude. Therefore, everything she does, like her natural gas tank and stamina levels are going to be unrivaled in this fight. Amanda Serrano does not have the same level of work rate, the same level of stamina that Erika Cruz has. Now, stylistically, Amanda actually has the advantage in this fight, because Erika is a pressure fighter. Amanda is a classic boxer puncher. equal amounts defense and offense, and Amanda is always best when she has someone that literally stands right in front of her, as opposed to someone that uses a lot of good footwork. What Erika is good at doing is ambushing. She's good at being able to throw a sort of a right probing, it's almost like a lunging jab, because she's a southpaw as well as Amanda. She will throw like a lunging jab and lunge into range, and then let off a combination while she's on the inside, and then exit out, move around, and then basically burst back into action again. She's very good with sort of an ambush style, and that in itself may cause Amanda Serrano problems, because again, if she can't time her in between the shots, she's going to end up having to tuck up to avoid catching a lot of clean shots to the head, to the body, wherever they're landing. Erika is also very strong on the inside. You look at her frame, you can tell that she's built quite thick set. She's shorter than Amanda, she's a little bit fleshier, so in terms of the gas tank, again, she's going to have a lot more, there's sort of going to be a lot more carbs within the body to be able to, you know, draw from when it comes time to you know, to do the necessary work. That being said, I do think inside the exchanges, even though Erika Cruz is going to have a lot of success, she's probably going to hit Amanda more than Amanda's used to being hit. I think Amanda's going to be able to time her between shots enough that she gets the eye-catching punches, and ultimately if she starts the rounds and ends the round strong, she will claim the rounds on the cards. I can also see a scenario where Amanda does drop Erika in this fight, maybe more than once, potentially. But Erika, like I said, she's tough. Amanda's not going to stop her. There's absolutely no chance this fight ends inside the distance, because neither girl is going to be able to stop the other. I can also see Erika probably lunging into something, catching Amanda off balance, and Amanda maybe, you know, falling off of something innocuous and taking account. But that's probably less likely, just because she's used to both the MMA stance and the boxing stance, so her balance and her poise is normally pretty good. And again, because Erika Cruz is going to be standing right in front of her, she's going to have a field day in that sense. That's going to be the fight she wants. So yeah, my prediction is that it's going to actually be a very competitive and a very close run fight, and potentially even a split decision. Let's not forget, Erika Cruz is actually the home fighter here, even though Amanda's the A side. So when there are those close rounds, she could get a bit more consideration than Amanda does, although let's not forget, this is in Amanda's hometown also. But I can potentially see this being a split decision, but Amanda Serrano does win and does become undisputed champion at featherweight, potentially then setting up either the rematch with Katie Taylor or the 126 to 130 undisputed unification with Alycia Baumgardner sometime later on in the year. So that's my prediction of all the fights. Video's probably slightly longer than I would have wanted it, but I hope I've not bored anyone and I've given you fairly comprehensive breakdowns, not necessarily techniques and fights, but just how the fights will sort of ebb and flow, talents between the two. And yeah, if you could please leave your comments down below, let me know what you think. I'll greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching the video. Again, like, subscribe, share with a friend, colleague, relative, associate, anyone in between, even the enemy. You know, maybe not enemy, maybe my videos are a bit too good to give to an enemy, but that's just me riffing. But either way, thank you very much for watching, and that's Basis Picks locked.